When I get asked the question, can I even help your kid? And if you can help my kid, then how long is it going to take? There's a few things that I consider. First thing that I consider is historically what happened, right? What got your kid to where they're currently at? That sequence of what got your kid to where they're at is something that we call the perfect storm. The sequence of events that starts before baby's even born, at conception, like how healthy was mom and dad, did they have any fertility issues? And then also pregnancy itself. How was pregnancy? Was it a good, healthy pregnancy? Was mom super stressed? The next thing that I think about and look at is how was the birth process? Was that crazy stressful? Was it a pretty run-of-the-mill birth, or was there intervention that had to occur to help baby get into this world? And then how were baby years? Was baby colicky? Was baby super stressed out? Was as they grew up, did they cross crawl appropriately? Did they develop in the appropriate way? Just all these different things, right? And eventually getting to a point where how was baby as a toddler? Were they emotionally outbursty? Did they show any uh, symptoms in terms of like getting sick a lot, or were they relatively healthy? And that just continues to cascade down to wherever your kid's at, right? And so I look first at history. Then the next thing that I look at is our insight scans. Our insight scans help me understand, as the doctor, where the stress is stuck in their nervous system, what have all those historical events done to their nervous system to help it communicate appropriately. Because if a kid's dealing with something like ADHD, is on the autism spectrum, has OCD, ODD, maybe is a colicky baby, or has reflux, or has digestive issues, whatever your kid's dealing with, there's these pieces of the puzzle that have got them to where they're at, and their nervous system is holding on to and retaining that stress. And so the scans that we do in our office help me understand what's going on and where that stress is located and what we're going to do about it. So I want to show you what those scans look like right now, so you have an understanding of what we're looking at in general to figure out how we're going to help out your kid. So this scan right here is one of the first scans that we do anytime anyone comes into the office, be it a baby, a little toddler, a newborn, a mom, a dad, a teenager. This is the very first scan that we do in our office, and it's called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability helps us understand whether your nervous system is in more of a fight or flight mode, like we've got here, F, fight or flight, or sympathetic state, sympathetic nervous system, or if it's more of a rest, digest, heal state, or parasympathetic state. Essentially what this graph shows me is this white dot is where somebody's nervous system is communicating from, right here, and we want it to be somewhere in this green zone. So this person's nervous system looks pretty okay, honestly. It's not in the most ideal position, but it's on the border of that green zone, telling us that their nervous system is communicating well the functions of the autonomic nervous system. It's not having to work too hard. If it were further down, somewhere over here on this graph, then it would tell us that, hey, their nervous system's stuck in more of a fight or flight mode. It's taking more effort to do what it needs to do. So that's the first scan that we do in our office. The next scan is called a neurothermal scan. So this is the neurothermal scan. What the neurothermal scan does is it tells me temperature differences from side to side on the spine, so from left to right. And if there's higher levels of stress stuck on your nervous system, then that creates heat or irritation and inflammation. And that's what this scan shows us. So we see that red is significant levels of nerve interference, blue is moderate, and then green is mild levels of nerve interference. And so when we're looking at this person's scan, there's multiple locations where their nervous system is holding on to stress. Anytime we see red, obviously that's significant. Anytime we see any color within the neck region, that's really of high importance. And the reason is the vagus nerve exits the brainstem right here and goes down, and it communicates to your respiratory system and your cardiovascular system and your digestive system. All these systems that you don't even have to think about working to do what they do, the vagus nerve is going and communicating, and it's communicating more of that rest and digest within your nervous system. And so the calm within your nervous system. So if somebody comes in and they have any sort of color, it's an indicator within their nervous system that those areas of your body that function without you even having to think about it are likely under a certain amount of distress. And we can even look at this and we can correlate symptoms oftentimes to regions of the neurospinal system and what they control and how that dysfunction is actually affecting your overall well-being in terms of autonomic nervous system function. So that's the neurothermal scan, and that's one view of it. There's a couple views, but I just want to focus on a few different ones today because I don't want to overload you with information. What's cool is that when we see these scans, it helps us understand where the stress is stuck, the depth at which it's stuck as well too. So the next scan that I want to show you is what we call a neuromuscular scan. Basically what it tells me is the total amount of energy that your neurospinal system is utilizing to do the things that it needs to do. So this is what we call, there's multiple different views of the scan that we can look at. This particular view that we're looking at, I almost like to call it like a summary view of the scan. It tells me how much energy total is being utilized to do, again, what your nervous system needs to do. And it also tells me a pattern as well as a symmetry score. Basically, the pattern and the symmetry score is telling me how balanced the nervous system is as a whole. And oftentimes we'll see that the energy index or the total amount of energy is too high with kids that are struggling with things like ADHD or sensory processing disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, that sort of stuff. The other thing that we'll see is that maybe the energy index is appropriate, but this balance is off, and so they have this amount of energy that is good, but when the balance is off, then their nervous system is having to have more explosive behavior and explosive energy bursts at times to help create more balance. And so that's why kids will have issues focusing and sensory processing issues because their nervous system is just so overstimulated. So these are the 3 different scans that we do with a couple different views to help me as the doctor understand how we're going to help your kid. What steps are we going to take to remove the stress from the nervous system? Are we going to take a more traditional chiropractic approach? Are we going to use maybe different adjusting styles? How long do we need to see your kid before we start to see change? That sort of stuff. With in mind, every kid is a little bit different and each scenario looks somewhat similar, but also is somewhat different too. And so one of the key things is being patient with your kid's nervous system, right? Giving your kid's nervous system the grace that it deserves, and with time and consistency, just like with exercise, we can start to see change. It would be really cool to say that we can get a 6-pack overnight, but that's just not how it works, right? It takes time and consistent effort to create change for your kids, and we can certainly do it, but we need that time and we need that consistency. What's cool is we can measure our progress and we can measure our change with the scans throughout the process. And so even if we're not necessarily seeing the emotional status change as much as we'd like to, we can see it in the scans and know that it's around the corner. And that's what we do. That's how we help your kids. So if this is something that you want to see done with your kids specifically, let us know, drop us a comment, give us a call, go to our website and fill out a contact form and we'll get in touch with you and figure out a good time for us to figure out how we can help your kid. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.